Okay, let's go at it this again. As far as in this lesson here, we're going to be continuing with this idea of forms. As far as within these forms, we have the forms that most people assume. We take the circle, we turn it into a sphere. We have a square, we turn it into a cube. We have a triangle, we turn it into a pyramid. And also we have the cylinder, and we also have the cone. As far as the emphasis again is within a really good shading techniques. As far as the shading techniques, we need to have a really good, nice sense of rhythm. We have a really nice sense of flow, really have a nice sense of how to hold the tool, the graphite pencil, and of course we have a nice idea of modeling. The idea of modeling is basically how light shines on the surface, and as light shines on the surface, of course we see the shadows developing. As far as the paper is the highlight. It already is nice and bright. As far as everything else, well, we have to develop. So it's a good amount of work, a lot of effort. But again, if you do put your technique, if you put good effort, it is well worth it towards the end. So as far as we're going to start with a very, very simple form, I guess we'll start off with the idea of a cone. As far as drawing a cone, remember this idea of drawing nice straight lines, we can always draw it at a diagonal. If you think of your center, when you put your hands together in front of you, they always form this idea of a triangle. From here, you can just hold the pencil, again, very, very loosely. Make sure that the pencil is forward. And from there, you can draw some really nice lines. Have an idea of where you want the next line to be. And draw another line. From there, turn the paper upside down and use your wrist. So again, in the other tutorials, we discussed these ideas and these concepts, and that's the way this kind of folds over. As far as the direction of the light, whichever way, I'm on the right side, but so I'll go ahead and make the light coming from the left. So as far as where would the light be, maybe I'll put a little dot. Maybe a few little dots like that to get an idea that the light's maybe coming in this direction here. So the furthest point from the light is going to be right here in this corner over here. Again, as far as the contour, we try to push the contour in. So a few little strokes right off the edge and try to push them in just a hair. That way the contour starts pushing inwards. So from here, we're going to start using some circular motion. As far as the size of your forms, they can be much smaller. I don't know why I started this one so large. I guess because I want to put more effort into it. But again, bigger is, of course, a little bit better in the sense where it forces you to keep improving. When you do draw a little bit larger and you have to shade bigger strokes, then you get to utilize your shoulder a lot more. And again, that's really, really good practice because, again, that's something that most people have never really thought of. So again, I keep the wrist straight. I've already kind of pushed off the edge. Now here, again, I'm going to try to control a long stroke. I know I'm going to be able to go from the highest point to the bottom point. But again, I want to get this mass done, this big mass. So again, if the transition is not working very, very smooth, feel free to go move back and then push forward, push forward. As far as the way I have it holding right now, I have a little bit of a diagonal on it. I'm going to go ahead and start holding it from the bottom side. So again, I'm holding it underneath. So I really want to be able to get to the lightest point. So lighter, 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 and lightest. So that did fade very, very well. Of course, I have to kind of clean up here along the edge of the contour. As far as up here, the trick is going to be blending this. Meaning that I didn't pull it all at once. That's the price I have to pay. So hopefully I can blend this where it's not so noticeable. If you're looking for it, you'll find it. But hopefully it won't be so bad. And if nothing else, I'll show you what happens when you can't blend it as well as you should. Now, as far as things being perfect, it doesn't have to be perfect. But again, you're looking for form. That's what your ultimate goal is. As far as your transitionings, are they working for you? Were you able to keep the contour clean? How far were you able to pull the transition outwards? The further you pull the transition out, it has a more sense of movement. Now, as far as this idea of form within a two-dimensional sheet of paper, it's just an illusion. So when the eye, of course, focuses either on the dark or the light, well, it starts traveling towards the other direction. So during visual perception, your eye either gets focuses over here or it'll begin over here, but it'll be drawn this way, it'll be drawn that way just because of that nice transition. If the transition is poor, the eye will keep stopping every time it notices a change. But if it can't notice the change, it just flows very, very effortless to the other side. As far as me blending, it blended pretty good. I just noticed it did darken a little bit there, but I'm all right with that. As far as the transition, it's working pretty good. As far as down here, I can clean it up a little bit, small little strokes. I'm gonna turn it around. On this side, it almost seems like it went towards the middle, but again, I do need to fade a little bit more right here. On this side right here, again, I'm just gonna work a little bit off the contour. Again, I'm holding the pencil very, very far back. I really want to see the pencil way out forward. That way I can make sure I do not pull any shading to the outside. I want to keep it all on the inside. So once that's pulled in, again, I'm not starting black. That's the furthest point from the light. So over here, I'm just going to start off with a medium dark. Again, holding the pencil from the back, have it rested on this side here. This finger's on top, and the thumb's a little bit more so on the side. Using the shoulder, large movements, I know I have to get to white very, very quickly. As far as softer, I'm going to hold it now on the bottom. Use a little bit more circular motion. A few little strokes, and that's good. Over here, do the same thing. Backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. A little bit more here. Fade it. Little circular motion, get a little bit more blending. It's almost there. As far as could it be better? Yeah, I mean, definitely if you spend more time tweaking it, maybe using some different graphite pencils. I would maybe go even with a harder pencil. After I do this shading here, I could come back with an H pencil and maybe burnish some of this shading down, and that would make it even more smoother, more uniform. Because right now I have a lot of texture. The texture of the grain of the paper. I like the grain of the paper, but again, sometimes it is a little distracting. So you could always come back and burnish with a harder pencil on top, and that'll make the grain kind of flatten out without making it too much darker. So just a few little taps of the pencil, a few little taps. But definitely you can always keep coming back, and again, just tweaking it, tweaking. It doesn't even have to be white in the middle. As long as it's the lightest within the entire space. So again, as far as within the mediums, the graphite is very, very slow. I mean, you could possibly use a piece of charcoal. Charcoal is very, very fast. It covers white spaces. Definitely paint would be very, very quick. As long as you're able to control the contour, the inside should be fast, depending on the quantity of paint that you're using, and making sure that you don't apply too much vehicle so it doesn't run too fast for you. But again, the graphite is a little bit more tedious. The point is fairly small, but again, with good movement, using your shoulder, you should be able to push a lot faster than if you're holding it like this or bending your wrist, where you have to do little tiny spaces. So again, if you're one of these that all your life, well, this is the way I've drawn, try different ways. There's nothing keeping you from trying different things. So that's one of the nicest things about, not thinking that everything's concrete, not thinking that everything is not doable, because I've never really tried it, or I don't think it's going to work for me. Try different things. No matter how experienced you are, there's always new things you can always learn. So I'm pretty happy with this. I'm fine with this. But again, if I always have to, of course, put my stamp on it that, oh, this is as good as it's going to get, well, of course, you got to keep going back in there and tweaking circular motion like what I'm doing here, softening up the shading. This could be done for at least another, probably a good 5 minutes, 8 minutes of more blending. I don't think you'll be able to tell so much from the camera, but definitely for me looking over it with glasses on, I could definitely tell it could be a little bit smoother, a little bit softer. But definitely for my students, this would be more than enough. So again, there's always room for correcting and cleaning. But again, these are more samples, and you really want to make sure that you push through these samples. Don't spend all your time in just one, because you still have quite a few to go. So again, I really want you to push the speed a little bit while maintaining control. The reason why I'm putting a little bit of shade underneath it is just to kind of get a feel for where this object sits. So I put a little bit of a soft shade like that. As far as the shadow, it's pretty tight at the very, very end. I'm going to soften it just a little bit. As to why would the shadow be there, I don't care. I just put it there just so you can create a little bit more separation, so you can kind of clean up the contour just a little bit. I didn't want to use an eraser, but I wanted to push just a little bit outside, just to kind of clean up the contour. As far as if there were a shadow, that would be the direction of the light right here, and the shadow would run away. So in that same direction, so it goes, the same way as the line flows through, the shadow would also run in that general direction. Should we draw shadows? Sure, why not? It's more practice for your shading. A lot of the concepts, a lot of the ideas for students that they say they love art or any kind of an art. I don't know, maybe because I'm old school and we lived in a generation that, of course, there are always distractions, but nothing like what today's generations live through. There's just so many distractions. It's so easy to be distracted, through all this technology. Everything seems so accessible. But, this idea of dedication is very, very important. Don't think that, if this is something that you say you want to go into as far as a career, don't think that this is work. There's no such thing as work within the field that you say this is your passion. It's never work. Don't think of it as work. Think about it as going to the park. I'm here to have fun. So again, as far as having fun, not too many people have fun, especially in the beginning, because of their expectations. They want their expectations to be higher, and they want it right now. They want it fast. They get consumed by Pinterest, where everything has to be so amazing. And, the world is very, very competitive, and you feel like your work has to be, to a level where it should compete, at least for viewings or people being, fascinated by it. I guess that's one of the rewards by doing any kind of art is some kind of recognition. If people recognize your work, that alone, that's pretty good, regardless whether you get paid for it or not. So as far as shadows, I do like to soften the shadow. Do I like this shadow? When I look at it now, I say, well, it looks kind of weird. I think the weirdest part from the shadow is that the height of the shadow is the same as the height of the object. So it kind of looks like it's almost moving upward. It kind of looks kind of surreal. It doesn't bother me, but it just kind of looks kind of funny. But it definitely looks like a shadow. I should have pushed it a little bit more at a diagonal. It also depends on the perspective of the person, but it does work. It does push away. So nothing else, that's good enough. But again, this is very, very good practice. So again, no matter how old you are, no matter how much experience you have, it's always good to get a little bit of practice, a little bit of a warm-up. So again, as far as drawing realistically, some people say, well, doesn't the photograph do so much better than that? Well, the thing is, we need to push ourselves. We need to see our limits. And somewhere along the line, we'll kind of settle for something, or we'll kind of move forward, or we can regress and do something a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more adventurous and just try different kinds of things. But again, everyone needs this kind of a practice, especially if you say that you want to learn how to paint or how to draw or something like that. So again, this is the cone. I'll draw one more here, and I'll separate it to a different video for the other objects, for the other forms. This one here, I will just draw a very, very simple cube. I'm going to draw vertical, horizontal. Sorry, the kids are going at it over there. So 2 horizontals, 2 verticals, some diagonals moving back, making sure that they're all parallel to each other. 1, 2, and 3 for the vertical. 1, 2, and 3 for the horizontals. As far as shading it, I mean, the form looks pretty good. Another way of drawing this, you know, if you really like this idea of linear perspective, you go 1, you go 2, go 3 and 4, and then you can put a vanishing point. So the vanishing point could be to the right or the left or down to the bottom. It doesn't matter. So he put that vanishing point there, this line, and this line. They should look like they're flowing back towards that space. And the vertical, and vertical, and horizontal, and horizontal. If your cube looks a little weird, it looks weird. It's probably because one of the lines is going off on its own. So you always have to look for that one line that's a little bit off. As far as this, again, we have values. We did 12 values just the other day. This one here, we're going to go with only 3. Unless you want the cube to be open from a different perspective, then we can make it seem like as if it's open. But in this case here, again, we're just going to put single tone, single degrees. So again, I don't know, I'll start on the right side. That's where I normally start. And I'm going to say this one is a medium dark, probably like number 2, number 3 on the value scale. And again, I'm trying to fill the entire space with 1 stroke. That way, I'm almost done. I go back one more time. I felt like I could soften it just a little bit better. Turn it to the side. Make sure I stay on this side of the contour. Upwards. And just fill it in. So again, it's not completely black. It's probably, again, probably number 3 on my value scale. I can still go darker, but this is fine. As far as on this side over here, I go maybe like 2 shades lighter than that, or maybe 3. Go back up one more time. Maybe I'll go back over it in a different direction. That'll help to kind of soften up whatever lines I did leave behind. Another thing you can do when you are drawing is to turn the pencil. When you want to get a sharper end to the pencil, you can always just rotate it just a hair. When you rotate it just a hair, you'll find that there's a sharper point or a sharper edge. That way, if you want to keep something cleaner, especially right off the contour, just turn the edge of the pencil just a hair. If you turn it back the other direction, then that's that nice rounded side that you just finished using. As far as this down here, I didn't draw it very clean. Just like to clean it up a little bit. As far as looking at it again, so these two are very, very similar. Maybe I should make this side a little bit darker down. You don't want the sides to look similar at all, because then it'll look like it's kind of rounded. And I want it to look rounded. I want it to look like it has very, very crisp edges. So I darkened it up just a little bit more, so now you can see the contrast. As far as the very, very top, I'm just going to go all out and say I'm going to make it very light. So again, I hold the pencil more so from the back. Try to find a nice round edge on the pencil. That way it doesn't leave any scratches or lines. And just softly just push across it. Go back to their direction. That's pretty good. Now this box was open, this cube was open. So let's open it up. So if you had to imagine this line, you know, the vertical, this vertical of course goes down. So now my box is open. The fourth corner is over here, so this would go back this way. Of course, this goes across, but I can't see that side. Now, to make it seem like you can actually go into the box, I have to put a little transition. Some people say, well, why are you going to put transition? I thought you said that these are supposed to be flat, very, very uniformed tones or shades of grays. But the thing is, if you want to create the illusion like it's moving inwards, then you have to create the sense of movement. So this whole idea of, if you say the word movement, then you have to, of course, put transition. So I had to put a little bit of transition, and I'll push it up very, very softly. I don't like to see the contour very, very much, just because I'm reminded of the line. So I'll try to fade it in just a little bit. But definitely you can see how putting that little bit of transition not really creates that sense like you can go inward the box. If you want to do a little bit over here, see, I turned the pencil just a hair. I want to create a little thickness to the edge of the box. And from here, I'm just going to do the slightest transition moving upwards. See, that's a little bit better. So again, I have 2 forms here, and then I'm going to do a couple of more on the next video. Sorry for the kids. Thank you.